Hello everyone, it's Alyssa Hicks, and I am here today to share with you all a little bit of my story. Now I'm going to try to do this in a few minutes. Of course it's hard to make this short, but I'm going to tell you my story because I want you to know a little bit about me, the one who you are following on this page. Now my guide dog Gabby is again next to me, and again you cannot see her, but she's always next to me, so I just thought I'd let you know she's here, she's listening. So I want to just kind of let you guys know a little bit about me and just where God has brought me. So I was born, as I have already mentioned, without vision. My blindness was caused by a rare genetic disease called Leber's congenital amaurosis. And basically my parents happened to be both carriers of that same genetic disease. And they didn't know it, obviously, until I was born. But I was born blind. And they didn't know I was blind until I was probably, I want to say like 5 or 6 months old. But yeah, so I was born that way, and so that's kind of all that I've ever known. I've never seen anything in my life, and so it's hard for me to imagine what it would be like to see. And so that's kind of just how I grew up, and to me that was normal. And my family, I have 2 sisters, an older sister and a younger sister, who are both sighted, and a younger brother, and he was also born with the same disease that I have, but he is not only blind, but he also does not speak, and he walks, but he doesn't. He just needs a little bit more help with things. But anyway, my family is, excuse me, my family is wonderful, and they helped me. Sorry, they helped me growing up to feel as normal as I could possibly feel. They really were good about making me feel like I could see. You know, they never treated me blind, but when I got into elementary school, I went to a public school, I was mainstreamed, I was treated blind, and I was often bullied and made fun of, and that's when I started to wonder why the Lord had made me different, and what was wrong with me, and all of that. And so that's when my self-confidence and my self-esteem really kind of took a dive downhill, and I started to really struggle. And it was that way all the way through elementary school and junior high, and then high school, actually, it was still kind of that way, but I was still kind of searching, just kind of wondering what the Lord had for me. And, you know, I knew He had a plan for me, and I knew that deep down inside, when I would feel, you know, depressed or anxious, that, you know, the Lord had something for me. I knew He had a calling on my life, and I've always had a passion for music, and so whenever I felt, you know, in the depths of despair, I would sing. I would sing to the Lord. I would sing praise songs. I would play the piano, and that was kind of my escape from that. And but that would heal me, and I began to rely on it. And I believe it was the Lord in the music that would speak to me. But I still wasn't sure what my calling was, and I still wasn't sure why I was feeling so empty. And so anyway, in high school, my sophomore year, my parents actually divorced, and that was just rocked my world in a huge way because, as I didn't mention, but I grew up in a Christian home. So my parents were Christians, and, you know, it was a very solid foundation that I was raised on. And then suddenly when I was 16, just it all crumbled. It was almost like walls just crumbled around me. And my parents divorced. And so everything just seemed, I questioned everything. And at that point, I lived in Palmdale, California, because I was born in Southern California, if I didn't mention that. And so I lived in Palmdale, and basically, it was a hard time in high school, and I had to end up moving after the divorce. We moved to Simi Valley, which is where I live now, and that basically was where I spent the last 2 years of my high school career, and it was just a huge sort of trial that I had to endure, honestly, and it really rocked me in a way, and it kind of started my downward spiral of depression that I, you know, began to experience. And these are hard things to talk about, I'm going to be honest, but I'm being transparent with all of you because I believe that the Lord can speak through me to someone today. But I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety and all sorts of things that are just so dark. And so anyway, fast forward a couple years, when I was 18 and graduated from high school, I honestly was ready to leave home because I just wanted to disconnect and just, you know, find myself, so to speak, and just, you know, try to obliterate this depression. And I thought, well, if I move as far away from home and the family as possible, that might help. And so that's what I did. I moved to Northern California, and I went to a living skills center for the blind because I believed that I needed some help on some living skills and how to get independent. And basically, you know, my biggest dream in life was and is to be a wife and a mother. So I thought, well, I need to learn some home skills that I never learned, and I need to be, independent. So that's what I did. I went up to the Oakland area and I did that, and that was a very, very dark time for me. I went looking for something more, and I did not find it. And the one thing I can remember, though, when I was there was that the Lord's presence was with me. And though I couldn't always feel it, and it was just a dark time, and I was, I spent a lot of days just in deep sorrow, I felt a glimpse of God's presence every day with me, and I knew he was there, and I couldn't doubt it. But after 6 months there, I was supposed to stay a year, but I couldn't. I moved back in with my mom, and she was so gracious to me and took me back in, and then I thought, okay, I gotta find out what's my purpose, what am I gonna do? And so, of course, I thought of college, and so I applied to the only college I'd ever wanted to go to, which is Vanguard University down in Costa Mesa, and I applied to that college, and 6 months later, I was going to Vanguard. I was off to college. I was living in a dorm, and that was a very awesome time of my life. The Lord really used that. It was 4.5 years of college. I ended up graduating with a music degree, and it was just a great time, and a lot of hard times, of course, as well, but it was just a time that I was able to discover what it was like to be free and independent, and just, the Lord really spoke to me and showed me himself during that time. And when I was a sophomore, right after my freshman year, I received my first guide dog, which was awesome. And that really gave me a sense of exhilaration and freedom. Her name was January, a yellow lab, and she was great. And she was my best friend through college. She was my roommate, and we did everything together. And so that was honestly like the light at the end of my tunnel, or the silver lining in my cloud. And she really just helped me through college. And honestly, I started to rely a lot on her. She was my security. And the Lord tends to do this, and it's a good thing. But when we rely on anything more than him, he has to teach us that nothing is reliable, that nothing is as trustworthy as he is. And so 2 years after I got January, and this is a story for another time, but basically she retired early. And so I had to give her up, and she could not work for me anymore. And that was a huge tragedy. And I began to doubt again and waver again, and my relationship with God was rocked again. It's just kind of all over again. And I thought, okay, Lord, I really need to trust in you. And so that was a time where I really had to step back and seek the Lord more fully. And he showed me that I need to delight myself in him, because there were a lot of desires that I had. I wanted more than anything to, have a guide dog, to be independent, more than that, I wanted to get through college, and get my degree and maybe get married and have children. But I knew there was so much I wanted, and I just wasn't, everything was just falling apart. And so I thought, well, I need to seek the Lord. And so I did. I really got close to the Lord, and I began to delight myself in him. And there's a psalm, a verse, in, I believe it's Psalm 37:4, and it says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And a lot of times that verse is taken out of context, but I believe that the Lord wants us to put him first and to delight ourselves in him, and he will give us what we desire. And so that's what I did. And sure enough, I didn't see this coming, because honestly, I never thought I would get married. Honestly, I'm being honest with you right now. I never thought that I never dated in college. I never really dated in high school. I was completely just thinking that my blindness would not allow me to do that. And all my friends around me in college were getting engaged and dating and all this, but I wasn't. Excuse me. And I knew that maybe it was because of my disability. And so I began to doubt and, oh, well, maybe one day when I'm 50, I'll get married, Well, lo and behold, about 3 years or so into my college career, a man that I did not expect, and this, again, is a story for another time I will go into, but I will just say now that I was pursued by a man, and we fell in love quite quickly, and it was a total miracle, and we started dating, and actually right around the time that January retired, so it was like definitely the Lord's blessing on my life. And we started dating, and I finished college in December of 2014, and a week later, we were married. My husband Richard and I were married. And I never thought that I'd be one of those, ring by spring, which in my case it was, ring by summer/wedding in winter. But hey, so I got married, and it was a beautiful, beautiful time. And I was just like, Lord, you were so good. And, I knew the Lord was blessing me, and just, oh, he's so good. But anyway, we got married and moved to Santa Clarita, and our first year of marriage was beautiful. But at the same time, it was a time of learning for me. And, again, God never stops teaching me lessons. It's awesome. But my husband was, gone a lot during that time, because of course he had to work to provide for us. And I again was faced with what most college graduates are faced with. What now? So I'm sitting at home and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? And it was a lot of time alone and with the Lord, and it was just a great growing time, but also a time of questioning, like, what am I going to do with my life, Lord? What are your plans for me? And, I didn't have a guide dog at that time. I was still in transition trying to get another dog. And, I was not able to have the same freedom and independence that dog provided me with to go out on my own. And so I was always home and always in the house and afraid to go out and just had a lot of confidence issues to work through. So I worked through a lot of those, and the Lord was just so good to teach me and patient with me while I learned. And sure enough, about a year later, well, I guess less than a year later, in April, so about almost 6 months ago now, I received my second guide dog, Gabby, and the Lord provided her at just the right time. And she's a black lab. She's beautiful. She's from Guide Dogs of America, which is an amazing guide dog organization. And ever since I've gotten Gabby, I've just found such new freedom that the Lord has provided me with, and it's amazing what that can do. Having a guide dog, and again, I'll say more about this in videos to come, but having a guide dog is such freedom for someone who is blind. It just provides such independence, and it almost makes you feel like you have your sight. It's just amazing. It's like a chance to see. And it's almost like, to me, I compare it to driving a car, because I've always wanted to drive, and so having a guide dog for me is like driving a car. So I got the keys to my new car, and been just, driving around ever since, just feeling free, and the Lord's been providing. And my husband actually got a really good job opportunity, and it moved us back to Simi Valley just actually about a month ago. So we're back here now, and we're just loving life. It's a beautiful life that the Lord has blessed us with, and right now I'm just kind of seeking Him every day, and, waiting for Him to reveal to me exactly what He has. And I know that there's a lot of exciting things to come, and Gabby and I are just going throughout life and adventures together, and it's wonderful. So I just thought I'd share with you guys a little bit of where I'm at now, and hopefully you guys were encouraged today. And I want you guys to know that, life is still hard. I mean, even though the Lord has blessed me beyond my wildest dreams, I still struggle, just like anyone else does. I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety, those things I've always struggled with. And I want you to know that the Lord is still in the process of redeeming me and healing me of those things. And I know that He can heal you too. If you're struggling with depression today, or anxiety, or you need physical healing, I know He can heal you. And so I'm here to tell you, I'm a testimony that the Lord redeems, and the Lord heals, and He restores. And the verse that I hang on to is part of Psalm 23, that the Lord leads me beside quiet waters and restores my soul. And so I hang on to that, and the Lord is so good. And so anyway, I won't continue rambling, but I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions about this story, please feel free to comment, or if you want to share with me a bit of your story, I'd love to hear it. You can comment below, or you can email me at trueinsightah@gmail.com. That's trueinsightah, stands for Alyssa Hicks, @gmail.com, and I will respond to your emails. And so anyway, without any further rambling, I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless all of you.